It's so bright in here I can hardly see myself with this light on my camera, on my tripod. But let's see if I can do a video in the back of my van. Bit of rain coming in from the northwest and here in Auckland, and where I am, I'm at the Great Lynn Library making a video in my van before I go into the library to do some work this morning. Yeah, so we're in the this is video made in the middle of March, the week before the equinox, the autumn equinox, and it definitely feels very autumnal here in Auckland. There's definitely that feeling of autumnal energies moving in to Auckland City, and the climate's definitely shifting and changing. It's getting cooler and wetter. So we're in the situation where we have conflict, which has not really been reported much in Ukraine still, between Ukraine and Russia, and the regions that want to be part of the Russian Federation, that been Donbass and Crimea. We haven't heard much about that war anymore, or that special operation at all. Now the focus is on the situation in West Asia and Iran and the Middle East and the Levant in Israel. That conflict was instigated by the United States and Israel, is in full swing. It's my door behind me closing. It's in full swing, and for anyone who's kind of looking at the situation impartially and looking at the situation with all the information that's been revealed to us in the last few weeks with the Epstein files, it feels as though Donald Trump is definitely compromised and has been activated due to the nature of that compromised truth that he is deeply in the Epstein files and is doing everything within his power to, and within his capabilities to remain not persecuted, arrested, impeached for his behavior and for his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. And being as compromised as he is, it was only too obvious that due to his interest in the puppet that he is as well, he was going to go full tilt and have a conflict with Iran, which would be, according to all military strategists, absolutely devastating for the United States military-industrial complex and also the US military. Having said that, they are holding back with a lot of special black ops tech that they have that would be so far in advance of what we see in the public today. You were ahead of the spin if they brought it out and used it in Iran. But from all accounts, at the moment at least, they're not using it. Will they bring out that tech and use it? Weapon like, rods of God, sound weapons, lasers, mazes, there's so much you could go on about here, but I don't want to get into the conflict. I want to get into the distraction that is already in place in 2026, the chaos that's happening in 2026, because this is what, as David Icke said in 2025, and I think he was spot on because he knew it was coming and it had to come. This being the second year of ekpyrosis, according to Bebudev Misra's work, Yoga Shift, and what he determines to be ekpyrosis, thanks to the Greek word for a transmutation through fire. That we're heading to this phase of intense energy, and that energy could be harnessed for the benefit or for the let me turn this around so it's not so bright, for the benefit or for the detriment of our consciousness and for humanity and such. That is quite bright, isn't it? I might even turn that off. No, I'll put it there. There we go. Of consciousness. So if you look at the energy coming from the sun, if you follow Stefan Burns' channel, you look at the energy coming from the sun in this moment. I'm talking like March, only the third week of March. You look at the energy of the sun coming in to our inner solar system, hitting our Earth. It's basically the electromagnetic energy and the electrical energy from the sun, the plasma energy from the sun, is electrifying the earth. The planetary alignments in our solar system are also creating electromagnetic conversations, electrical conversations between the planets. That is, at some point, if you are able to tune into it, elevate consciousness. I'm not talking about ascension, I'm talking about elevating consciousness. It's a very different and very personal experience, right? So what that means moving through this year is that there are many opportunities for consciousness to elevate, for consciousness within a form to recognize itself. Not any kind of new age bullshit, happy ascension shit. I'm talking about literally going back into the form, back into the heart, and attuning to that energy, the life stream energy. And by doing that, having a very different experience than the one that people are having right now in the world. Of course, in some parts of the world, that's a very difficult experience to have. I met a guy at a festival last week who told me that the entire planet was moving towards a global consciousness shift. And in that global consciousness shift, what was going to happen was that we were going to elevate out of our current paradigm into a whole new paradigm, one that was elevating all consciousness, no one's left behind, right? And I looked at this guy and I said to him, that might be your experience, that might be your perception, but you had to look at this as in a realistic, more grounded aspect of where we are in our levels of consciousness individually and our group consciousness, right? There is a concerted effort to distract people's consciousness into fear, into chaos, right? Because in that fear and chaos, the whole idea is that the non-human forces that move through their puppets are looking to bring in, and my perception, I've done numerous videos on this, bring in mass misdirection of consciousness, so it does not go inward, it does not cultivate a life stream, a consciousness stream, a cosmological stream, alignment with this cycle that's coming in now, ekpyrosis, this transmutation through fire. The whole idea of the reason why this force wants to move through, and is moving through our everyday 3D reality. Like where I am now in New Zealand, there's going to be potential fuel shortages due to the nature of the fact that a lack of refined petrol oil will make it to our country to be made into petrol, right? South Korea is already saying to our New Zealand government that you might get half of what you used to get, because even though we've got a contract with this country to bring in refined petrol and oil into our country for our vehicles to travel with and transport around the country with, that might get halved, right? Which instantly creates a panic and a chaos and fear, right? But that's global now, with the situation with Iran controlling the Straits of Hormuz, and what that means within this conflict, how the repercussions of that are forcing the hands of certain nations and the puppets within those nations, at least in the theatre of war. What's going on behind the curtain is for you and I to speculate, right? When the real power is, what's going on there, from all accounts, is a slow manufactured fall of the structures of society. So at some point, the new energetic paradigm that they want to create can be brought in of more control. Digital IDs, CBDCs, basically corporate credits rather than fiat currency. Controlled. You can only spend it at certain locations. You've got a certain time to spend it. All these AI controlled governments, because our politicians will be seen as being incompetent, foolish, greedy, lazy, sleazy. Obviously the Epstein file is doing a great job with that, the revelations with that. All of this is mass and misdirection of consciousness and within people to look over there. Meanwhile, this is happening over here, right? Like as Gareth Icke said, burying bad news over here while this is happening over here, and people are also all looking in that direction over here. You can bring in your digital ID and your central control system, while people are looking over here at the situation, the conflict in Iran, and the repercussions of that on petrol, on their lifestyles, on how they live their lives, and the comforts, the securities they have in their lives. But at a deeper level, and we move out of that quagmire into a level that's beyond the five senses, but bringing it back into the five senses, in my perception, is the energies of the alignments of the cosmology of the constellations within our solar system and beyond. And these energies moving into our inner solar system and into our solar system, and the electromagnetic and electrical forces that move through these planetary correlations. And now through it, and from our sun, as it begins to go into a solar minimum as well, which is moving ahead, we're moving towards that. And how the Earth is recalibrating as well with large seismic events, volcanic eruptions, which are, as last year, as maybe would have missed reset and Yuga shift, that would begin to accentuate and begin to accelerate in regards to what we experience in pyrosis, fire, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, fireballs from the sky. All these have begun to accelerate on our planet. All these are beginning to have more frequency on our planet, right? So the recalibration is beginning to happen. As the dragon lines that were once upon a time held in place through the Kali Yuga cycles, through the descending cycles, begin to move and shift and buckle with the energy that's coming in from the sun and from the cosmos and from our central sun, through our sun, up the portal of our sun. And a lot of people aren't looking at this information and aren't adhering to it. Now, it's all good to be aware of what's going on over there in Iran and West Asia, which is horrific. But we have to look at this, if we come back and purview that those souls, that spirit, chose to incarnate there to have that experience. Compassion and empathy is what we need to have for those souls in those bodies in that part of the world that are having the experience that they're having. We do need to have compassion and empathy, for that's a part of us, our consciousness. It's all the same consciousness experiencing itself, as Bill Hicks once famously said, subjectively. But it's all the same consciousness. But that, what's going on over there, is awful. And it's unnecessary. But this is how, in this moment in 2026, how the powers that be, the non-human forces, move through their puppets to create the misdirection, the chaos, the madness, the horrors of these events, to distract people out of this timeline, out of this energy, out of this correlation between what's going on cosmically within our solar system and energetically from our sun. It's a massive misdirection. And most muggles, I use that word humorously, but it's a good word to call them, not normies, not NPCs, muggles, are so deep in the matrix that they would never, as this guy seems to think that people would wake up all of a sudden out of their deep sleep, would never be able to attune themselves to this energy because they aren't able to perceive it. Now, I watched a video which I'll post in this video as well. Just today, I was watching as I was driving here to the library, and I haven't finished watching it as yet, but I'll post it on here, with this video. And it talked about the nature of this energy coming in July, which is H2, I think, as if you have the quarters of the year. I think it's called H2 in the Vedic astrology. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Don't quote me on that. But in July, according to this astrology, there's a bunch of energies coming in that could potentially shift and change consciousness in a way that's very positive and powerful. And if consciousness is aligned to it, most importantly, right? But this is, for me, it's like, how much more chaos, how much more craziness are we going to see between now and the middle of March and that moment in July? How much more craziness, how much more earth-changing events, which are natural and the ones that are piggybacked upon by the powers that be and by using the technology that they have to manipulate weather and earthquakes, seismic events, volcanic eruptions. How much more are we going to see in regards to more conflict breaking out across the world in various parts of the world? How much more conflict are we going to see breaking out of other parts of the world? Other theatres of war breaking out potentially across the world? Are we going to see a systematic financial collapse in the next few months globally that stems from a crisis that happens in the United States? Are we going to see shortages in oil around the world, therefore economies begin to collapse because there's no industry anymore, because the oil isn't getting to the countries like our country, for example? And my country, am I going to see carless days? I grew up in the 1970s. As a child, I remember carless days because the nature of the trade oil wars in the 1970s, we had carless days in this country because there wasn't enough oil coming into the country for us to be able to have petrol. And our last petrol refinery in New Zealand, Marsden Point, was closed down in 2022. Whether that was done on purpose or done out of stupidity or trying to save money is really up for debate. Or maybe the technology that was there was all outdated and antiquated, so they had to get rid of it and close it down. I don't know. Maybe the money wasn't there to keep it going. But that's been shut down, so there's no refineries in New Zealand to refine crude oil anymore. So even though we have oil in our own country in Taranaki, 2 big oil rigs out there in Taranaki bringing oil out of the ground, all that oil belongs to Royal Dutch Shell and goes overseas, rather than being nationalised and used by this country and refined at Marsden Point, and then for us, the people in New Zealand, to be able to use that oil for our industry, it all goes overseas. We have to get our oil brought to our country from South Korea and Singapore. Madness. Anyway, so are we going to see more of that chaos happening in our country due to the nature of what's going on in the world? And as the BLITZKRIEG, as David Icke calls it, the BLITZKRIEG of chaos happens through 2026. This is only March. Now, I watched a video of Austin Coppock and Gordon from Rune Soup, which I'll also post in this video as well. And if you look at, this is H1, this is only from January through till June. But Austin Coppock makes it quite clear with Gordon and Rune Soup that the energies are all there for chaos. The planetary alignments are all there for chaos. The correlations between the planetary alignments are all there for chaos. There is a reprieve in late May to June, but until then, there's an escalation and everything will escalate quickly. Now that, in my perception, is a misdirection away from the work, the real work, which is individual, is personal. And that personal work means you, as an individual, go inward on your inward journey and cultivate consciousness in a way that allows you to be in tune with the life stream. I'm not saying ignore what's going on in the world. I'm just saying, look, this is an opportunity to use this energy and ride the wave of ekpyrosis and transmute and transform this energy. Transform and utilize the wave to go inward, deal with your shadow, deal with the darkness on an individual level. No fear. Go inward, feel no fear, and go and do the work deeply on a level that allows you to see this as what it is, a misdirection. All that's what's going on in the world is misdirection. Some people say it's the death throes of the cult, of the death cult. I don't see it that way at all. I see it being an opportunity for the death cult to harness consciousness and take it, and therefore keep it in that stream of the old paradigm, keeping consciousness in the old paradigm, rather than people seeing it and being aware of it and looking at it objectively and then going like, well, that might be happening there, and I feel empathy for the people in that part of the world who are experiencing what they're experiencing, and I choose not to give my energy to it in that way, to the actual force itself that's creating the chaos. But in my infinite wisdom, I'm going inward and dealing with my own personal shadow, because that's a reflection outside of me of what's going on within my own form, within my own being, macro, micro. So therefore, if I find peace within myself, if I find the resilience to find peace within myself, if I go to a place in my heart where I find stillness in myself, and do my work and harness and ride this wave onward, ride the wave Ride the life stream wave of the consciousness. Tune into that energy. Have a very different experience by tuning into that energy. What will my experience be like? Now, yesterday I did a hypnosis session with a woman called Lou Ricks in Huntly, New Zealand. It was amazing. And I did during that hypnosis session, I went to a place, my sacred place, which I go to when I'm doing my shamanic dreaming. I might be going to that location next week, actually. We'll see how that plays itself out. But what I did when I got there was I saw my future self. And now I'm moving my energy into that future self. And the energy of that future self felt calm, felt cleansed, felt humorous, felt joyful. And that's what I'm moving towards in my everyday life now. I'm moving towards that energy. I'm trusting. I'm tuning in. I know what's going on in the theatres of war. I know that what's potentially down the line for all of people living in this country in New Zealand in regards to the crisis of energy crisis and an industry crisis. But I'm not worried about it. I'm not concerned about it. It doesn't scare me. It is what it will be. It will be what it will be. I'm not ignoring it. I'm aware of it. I'm not giving my energy to it. I'm turning around, putting my energy into my back and my body, rather than being misdirected by the chaos. I'm riding the wave back in and doing my work so I can resonate out into the field that calmness, that sense of trust, that sense of alignment with these energies and with the energies that are moving through in this moment at the beginning. This is only March. This is the middle of March 2026 of this year. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. Matewa. I'll see you again soon.